A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Let's turn our attention to women who experience a surprise or unexpected pregnancy. We talk about pro-life issues in relation to the issue of abortion, and we take special note of the amazing organisations that support women through pregnancy with help and encouragement. Lara Malin Wynard is President of Pregnancy Help Australia, and Lara's joining us. Hey Lara, welcome back to 2020.
Hi Neil, thanks for having me.
Lara, we want to talk about the good developments that are happening with Pregnancy Help Australia. You're in every state and territory except for Tasmania, but for those who are not so familiar with what you do and your leadership role, I wonder if you've got a few thoughts here on the foundations for Pregnancy Help Australia.
Yeah, well basically Pregnancy Help Australia is a national charity and it does have a long history. So over 45 years ago, a group of Christians really got together from different pregnancy centres across Australia and decided they'd be stronger together at reaching all of those across the nation who are experiencing an unplanned pregnancy and really don't know where to go for help. And of course, I didn't know about PHA when it started then, but I myself had an unexpected pregnancy in 1999. And at the time, I really didn't know of pregnancy centres. I had no idea. And I went on in my journey and was eventually asked to work in a pregnancy help centre. And it was then that I just thought, wow, if only I had known that this place was available. They are places that just come alongside women with real cushioned continuity, wraparound support, all free of charge, whether that's counselling or coaching or mentoring, whether that's material support. But really, it's just that safe space for a woman to come and be welcomed and to be heard in the midst of a really unexpected change.
And all these years later, now, Lara, you're leading the organisation and your own surprise pregnancy, and no doubt your child would be, 26 years old now?
Yes, almost 26. Yes, and that's the thing. I got called into this space and I've now come after leading at a pregnancy centre for some time. I was drawn into the national space and that was in 2019, and I think I spoke to you in 2022, Neil, and we had this vision on our heart because there were only about 19 pregnancy centres united with the network at that time. And we put a call out to say, really, what women need in Australia is a centre on their doorstep, in their neighbourhood. Many of these women, they don't have finances. They may not have a car. They may not be able to travel an hour and a half or catch two buses and a train to get to a centre. And also we had a national helpline. And of course, if someone calls for help to the helpline, but we don't actually have a centre located where that caller is calling from, it really leaves that woman isolated. And we know that the best support for a woman in this situation is to have options, and there really aren't options there if she has not got the support around her to continue the pregnancy. Many times people may also reach out to us because they've experienced a termination in the past, and when they find out about us, they say, I really didn't know this kind of help existed. If I had have had this at the time, maybe my decision would have been different. I would have felt like I did have a choice in the matter. And so really, in these years, I can report really good response since the last time we spoke. We've doubled in size. From 19 centres, we've now got 43 centres. We also have been running our national helpline. We relaunched it in the last 2 years. And also this startup program, which we call Hubs of Love. I think from our call last time, many people reached out from the church because that was the vision. We've got this infrastructure already in existence in Australia with churches in most suburbs, 2 or 3 Christian churches, and yet the infrastructure's there. Why can't there be a little hub of love in that neighbourhood as well? So I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank your listeners for responding so generously.
Wow, and always heartening to know that sort of effect happens after a conversation on the radio. Little hubs of love. And as you say, churches are ideally placed. It does need, I guess, that specialist focus, someone who really identifies with women who are experiencing an unexpected pregnancy. But this is something that, almost every church could be thinking about whether they could be that little hub of love. And plenty more room for more of these?
Yeah, there really is. If there's, obviously, if there's a pregnancy centre in your neighbourhood, our desire is for you to link in with them, make sure you know who they are, and make sure that you try and support them. They all rely on donations to run. However, if you look around and there isn't a pregnancy centre in your neighbourhood, there's a gap that needs to be filled. You might not know exactly how to do that, but that's why we're here. You can, contact us. We can have an appointment with you, and if you want to go ahead, we offer you that personalised coaching and training and tools to help you get started and bring that vision to life. It just starts with one visionary in your church who feels that that's been placed on their heart, and we can help you go forward from there.
Sometimes I'm sure people stigmatise the church with the thought that they'll be met with condemnation if they turn up and say, I need help, I have an unexpected pregnancy. And what's your experience here? Because churches typically, you might get a mixed response, but that love and that embrace that will come from especially women in a local church, I imagine it's just a beautiful big hug and embrace and support to get you through a very difficult time.
Yes, it is. But in saying that too, we really understand how difficult a lot of people might find it. They think, if someone comes to them and they're experiencing this unplanned pregnancy and they're considering their options, they don't know what they're going to do. Many people might just think, well, what am I going to say, or how am I going to fix this situation? And this is where when you come, the best thing your callers can do is have the helpline number saved in their phone to make sure that they can give that number to whoever is in need at that time, because those helpline workers are trained in how to listen and how to respond. And it's it's a beautiful kind of coaching technique where you really ask these powerful questions, and all of a sudden it helps that woman gain clarity. She's in a place of fear, which can be very paralyzing, but she requires someone who's going to allow her to open up and express all those fears. And then from that vantage point, you can have a look and see, well, what is the actual pressure? What is the actual fear? Where is it coming from? And what would it look like if I had this or if I had that? And of course, it takes a lot for people to feel like they can trust that someone is going to walk with them. Many people are wounded and they're in a place too, in an unexpected pregnancy, where all kinds of thoughts around abandonment, or what are people going to think of me, or am I even going to be able to do this, are there. And that's why, they just need that safe place. But there is definitely training around how to engage in a compassionate conversation around life issues. And that is part of what PHA provide as well. So yes, there's beautiful women in churches everywhere that have such a heart. But of course, the women in your neighbourhood, they may not feel comfortable knocking on the door of a church. And so that's where when someone is called to start a pregnancy centre, they might get in touch with us and we have a look at the whole service blueprint, what's available to you. Maybe you want to just start out as a virtual service or a mobile service, depending on the space that you've got at your church. We've had people contact us and all of a sudden they've said, I think I'll just start out like that. And then, within a few weeks, someone from the church has said, well, we've actually got a house that's sitting empty, and now all of a sudden they've actually got a beautiful premises that's a house of hospitality to welcome people to, a safe place that feels confidential as well.
And your story really is the story of what's happened with Pregnancy Help Australia. Somebody gets something started, and before you know it, there's a full-blown operation because the need is great. And, you know, I hope I wasn't being in any way flippant at all in suggesting that it's only a special big hug from some of the women in your church, but you really demonstrate something here when you say have the phone number in your phone because you can introduce someone to how to get to know what your options are because it's a long 9 months. Isn't it, with a pregnancy? And sometimes there's difficulties associated. There's coercion that's coming from all sorts of centres. There's all sorts of needs. So knowing your options. That helpline number, what is that helpline number for those who want to write it down?
Yeah, so the helpline number is 1300 139 313. And there's also a text number, which is nice. You know, someone can just text if they want a call back or if they want to schedule a time. And that's 0483 952 605. And I also don't want to disempower your callers. You know, if you have someone come to speak to you, the best thing you can do if you're unsure or you start panicking and think, I need to fix the situation, just remember L for love. It's L for listen. And you're going to listen and you're going to just be able, even 3 words, just tell me more. Tell me more. Let them speak. And then you can say something like, well, you know, you have got time. I'm so glad you spoke to me. I know somewhere that can give you some help. This is the number if you'd like to call. You know, keep it simple if you're feeling unsure, but there may be women out there that are just really equipped, you know, and are just very natural at being nurturing and able to listen and spark those conversations that really bring life.
Lara, that national helpline, 1300 139 313, and you would save that into your mobile device, Pregnancy Help Australia, and that text number 0483 952 605. Now, you've got an appeal that's going on right now, and from what I understand, it's fairly urgent. You're in need of a little bit of a boost. I mean, when you've grown substantially like you have, up to 43 centres now around Australia, there might be some financial needs. What do you want listeners to do in response?
Well, really, Pregnancy Help Australia is like an ecosystem, and in these years, an ecosystem, a bubble of life, and at the centre of that is this helpline and this national directory. And equal to that is this Hubs of Love startup program. Now, these have grown, like we said, in these few short years. And so, you know, we really are looking for key partners who might want to come alongside and really help us to sustain these incredible services. It is a bit desperate. You know, we do believe God's going to provide, but really the way it is, these services could disappear. We may have to scale back or discontinue next year should we not get strong support. So I really urge anyone out there, if you're a business, a kingdom builder, who, you know, with tax-deductible donations with June coming, I think it's such a fulfilling mission to be a part of, and I'm happy to chat with you anytime.
Okay, there's a national helpline, 1300 139 313. The Little Hubs of Love. You could have something going in your own local church or a group of women in a community who are very able and open to be able to help people with an unexpected pregnancy. Sometimes it's quick to pass. You can be too quick to pass judgment. As Lara says, don't be too quick to pass judgment. This is a time to listen and to offer some way of letting that young woman know about her options. And there is a need right now for finance. Let me point listeners to the website pregnancyhelpaustralia.org.au. pregnancyhelpaustralia.org.au. Lara Malin Wynard is President of Pregnancy Help Australia. Lara, thanks so much for another great update today. So glad to hear things are going so well and expecting good things so far as your fundraising goes too.
Thank you so much, Neil, and thank you to everyone who got involved since our last conversation. It's wonderful.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.